As we age, we begin to realize that life is not just about accumulating achievements or material wealth. It's about the lessons we learn, the relationships we nurture, and the awareness we develop about what truly matters. In the later years of life, we often reflect on the time that has passed, and we come to understand the significance of time itself. Time, once taken for granted, becomes a precious resource we can never reclaim. Alongside time, our health becomes even more valuable. As the body ages, we realize that good health is the foundation for enjoying life, and without it, even the greatest successes can feel hollow. Relationships, too, take on a new meaning as we grow older. The people we love and the bonds we form are what truly enrich our lives. Achievements may fade, but the connections we make with others are what remain in our hearts. Finally, self-awareness emerges as we become more attuned to our inner selves, discovering what brings us true happiness, peace, and fulfillment. Life's greatest lessons often come not from grand achievements, but from embracing the present moment, cherishing our health, nurturing our relationships, and living with mindfulness. These are the lessons that shape a meaningful life as we grow older. Releasing anger and the power of forgiveness. William had been carrying a grudge against an old friend, Thomas, for many years. It all started with a misunderstanding, a moment of betrayal that William couldn't let go of. What began as a small disagreement slowly grew into something far more significant, eating away at his peace of mind. His anger became a constant companion, lingering in his thoughts, overshadowing other parts of his life. This grudge wasn't just a fleeting feeling. It shaped William's emotional state and how he interacted with others. He became more irritable and distant, as the bitterness clouded his ability to truly enjoy life. Over time, the anger became a part of him, something that he thought was justified, but in reality, it had begun to define him without him even realizing it. His resentment colored his relationships and his general outlook on life, and he couldn't help but feel stuck in this cycle of negativity. One evening, while sitting quietly at home, William had a moment of clarity. For the first time, he realized how much his anger had affected him. He had been giving power to a past event, allowing it to dictate his present emotions. The realization struck him hard. The grudge he had been holding for so long wasn't changing anything about Thomas or the situation. It wasn't even changing the past. It was only hurting him. This thought became a turning point for William. He understood that holding on to anger wasn't protecting him from further pain. Instead, it was keeping him trapped. The weight he had carried for years was a self-imposed burden, and he was the only one who could lift it. He had been allowing his past to control his future, and in that moment, he made a conscious decision. It was time to forgive, to release the anger that had held him captive for so long. Choosing to forgive wasn't easy for William. It took time for him to fully process the idea of letting go of such a long-held grudge. But once he committed to forgiveness, he began to feel a shift. The moment he made the decision, he felt a sense of relief, as though a heavy weight was lifting off his shoulders. The anger that had once consumed him began to dissipate. It wasn't about excusing the hurtful action, but about freeing himself from the grip of that emotional pain. Forgiveness allowed him to move forward, to stop letting the past control his thoughts and emotions. By choosing forgiveness, William was no longer allowing the actions of the past to define his present life. This decision was not about Thomas. It was about William reclaiming his emotional well-being and peace of mind. As William began to forgive, he realized something profound. Forgiveness is not just an act of releasing someone else. It's about setting ourselves free. The power of forgiveness lies not in excusing the wrongs committed against us, but in letting go of the anger and resentment that weigh us down. Holding onto these negative emotions does not change the past, but it certainly affects our future. Forgiveness allows us to heal, to live more fully in the present, and to regain control over our emotional state. William saw how liberating forgiveness could be, and how it allowed him to feel lighter, more at peace with himself. It didn't mean forgetting what had happened or pretending it didn't hurt, but it meant no longer allowing that pain to control him. Forgiveness allowed him to take back his peace and his joy, something that had been stolen by years of holding on to anger. What William ultimately learned is that forgiveness is a powerful tool for healing. It's not just about letting go of anger, it's about reclaiming our own happiness. When we hold on to grudges, we are carrying around unnecessary emotional baggage. Forgiveness is the key to releasing that weight. It is not a sign of weakness, but an act of strength and emotional maturity. It takes courage to let go of the hurt and choose peace over pain. William's experience showed him that forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about us. By forgiving, we allow ourselves to move forward and live a more peaceful, fulfilling life. We free ourselves from the emotional chains of the past and embrace the present with a renewed sense of calm. Forgiveness is not just an act of kindness toward others, but a necessary step in healing ourselves and finding inner peace. The meaninglessness of material wealth. Martin spent the majority of his life chasing after material wealth. From a young age, he believed that success was measured by the size of one's bank account, the cars in the driveway, and the luxury homes in which one resided. He had grown up with the notion that if he could just attain enough wealth, he would find happiness and fulfillment. Over the years, he worked tirelessly to build his fortune, climbing the corporate ladder, making deals, and accumulating possessions. By the time he reached his 50s, Martin had everything that society told him was important. Expensive cars, a grand mansion, designer clothes, and a high-paying job. Yet, despite having all the material wealth he had dreamed of, something was missing. Every night, as he sat alone in his opulent living room, Martin couldn't shake the feeling of emptiness that lingered inside him. He had friends, yes, but they often seemed more interested in what he could offer than in him as a person. His relationships were shallow, built on the foundation of his wealth rather than mutual respect and affection. The vacations he took, the lavish parties he attended, and the extravagant gifts he bought for himself brought fleeting joy, but it was always short-lived. No matter how much he acquired, it never felt like enough. In fact, it often left him feeling more isolated. The more he pursued possessions and status, the more he realized that the happiness he had been promised through wealth had never truly materialized. As the years went by, Martin began to reflect on his life. One day, sitting in his expensive leather chair in his study, he looked out the window at the grand city skyline, realizing that while his life had been filled with material possessions, it had been strangely devoid of deep, meaningful experiences. He had missed out on the simple pleasures of life, the kind of moments that money couldn't buy. He thought about the times when he was younger, before the pressure of success had consumed him, when he would spend time with his family, share laughs with friends, and enjoy quiet evenings without the weight of business meetings and financial goals. It was in this moment of reflection that Martin began to understand something he had never fully grasped before. All the wealth he had accumulated was fleeting. His mansion, his cars, his designer suits, they were all temporary. As time passed, they would lose their shine, their appeal, and eventually their value. Martin realized that he had been living with a misconception, that true happiness could be bought. He had sacrificed so much: his health, his relationships, his peace of mind, in the pursuit of wealth, only to discover that material possessions could never fill the void inside him. The more Martin thought about it, the more he realized that what truly brought happiness were not the things he had, but the people he loved, the moments he cherished, and the experiences that shaped his life. He began to see the value in spending time with his family, reconnecting with old friends, and helping those in need. His life started to change as he shifted his focus from accumulating more wealth to enriching his life with meaningful experiences. He started volunteering at local charities, giving back to the community, and rediscovering the joy of simple pleasures, like hiking in nature or cooking a meal with loved ones. Through this process, Martin came to understand that real value lies in how we live, not in what we own. It's in the relationships we nurture, the kindness we show, and the memories we create. Material wealth, as he now understood, was nothing more than a fleeting illusion. It may bring temporary satisfaction, but it cannot provide lasting happiness or fulfillment. True contentment comes from love, connection, and living a life that is meaningful, not one that is measured by the size of a bank account or the number of things we can accumulate. The lesson Martin learned is one that many people face as they get older. Material wealth is fleeting. While it can offer comfort and convenience, it will never be enough to bring true happiness. What really matters in life are the experiences we have, the relationships we build, and the impact we have on others. When we give back, when we love deeply, and when we create memories with those who matter most, we find the kind of joy that no amount of money can buy. Martin's realization was a profound one. He had spent his entire life chasing after the wrong things, but it was never too late to change. In the end, he discovered that the richest life is not one filled with possessions, but one filled with love, experiences, and the willingness to give. The trap of perfectionism. For most of her life, Emily was caught in the trap of perfectionism. She believed that in order to pursue her passions, she needed the perfect conditions. She dreamed of writing a book for years, but every time she sat down to begin, self-doubt would creep in. She thought, I'm not a good enough writer yet. I need more experience. The timing isn't right. Instead of embracing the process, she waited for the perfect moment, but that moment never seemed to arrive. She also loved dancing, something that brought her immense joy in her youth, but she convinced herself that she needed to be a flawless dancer to truly enjoy it. She thought, I'm too old. I don't have the right moves. I need to wait until I'm better. With every passing year, her dreams of writing her book and dancing for the pure joy of it faded further into the background, as she continued to wait for perfection. Emily wasn't alone in this mindset. Many of us fall into the same trap. We think that we need to be perfect before we can do something, whether it's pursuing a passion, trying something new, or even connecting with others. But perfectionism is an illusion, a self-imposed barrier that keeps us from living fully. It holds us back from taking risks, trying new things, and embracing life as it is. One afternoon, Emily's granddaughter, Lily, came to visit her. They spent the day together, chatting and laughing. At one point, Lily put on some music and began to dance around the living room. Emily watched her granddaughter, her heart filled with love, and noticed how carefree Lily was. There was no concern for perfection. She wasn't worried about how she looked or whether she was dancing right. She was simply enjoying the moment. Suddenly, Lily stopped and turned to Emily. "Grandma, come dance with me," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. Emily froze for a moment, her mind racing with the usual excuses. "I'm too old for this. I'll look silly. I haven't danced in years." But then, looking at her granddaughter's face, full of joy and love, something shifted inside her. Emily realized that the perfect moment she had been waiting for would never come. The only moment that mattered was the present one, and it was hers to embrace. Taking a deep breath, Emily stood up and joined Lily in the middle of the room. At first, she moved awkwardly, hesitant and unsure of herself, but as the music played on, she felt a sense of freedom that she hadn't experienced in years. It didn't matter if she was perfect. She was enjoying herself, connecting with her granddaughter, and feeling the pure joy of dancing for the sake of it. There was no need for perfection in that moment, just joy, love, and a sense of being fully present. As they danced together, Emily's heart opened up. She realized that her entire life, she had been waiting for a perfect version of herself before she could enjoy her passions. But in doing so, she had missed out on countless opportunities to simply live fully. She thought of all the years she had spent waiting for the perfect conditions to write her book, to dance, to take chances, and she felt a deep sense of regret. But it wasn't too late. In that moment, she understood that perfection was an illusion. Life was about embracing imperfections, about showing up and doing things with love and joy, even when they weren't perfect. Emily's newfound perspective shifted her approach to life. She began to write, not worrying about whether her words were perfect, but enjoying the process of creating. She started dancing again, not with the intention of becoming a professional dancer, but simply to feel the music, to laugh, and to connect with the joy that movement brought her. She stopped waiting for the perfect moment, because she realized that the only moment she ever truly had was the one she was living right now. The lesson Emily learned is one that many of us need to hear. Perfectionism can hold us captive, preventing us from experiencing life fully. We wait for the right time, the right conditions, and the perfect version of ourselves. But the truth is, there is no perfect moment. Life is messy, unpredictable, and full of imperfections. And that's what makes it beautiful. It's in the flaws, the mistakes, and the unpredictability that we find our true joy. The more we embrace imperfection, the more we open ourselves up to the fullness of life. So, take a lesson from Emily. Don't wait for perfection. Dance, write, love, and live with joy, even in your imperfections. The perfect moment will never come, but the present moment, imperfect as it may be, is where true happiness and fulfillment are found. Life is meant to be embraced with all of its flaws, because in the end, it's not about being perfect. It's about being present and fully alive in the moment. The irreplaceability of time. Samuel had always been a hardworking man, driven by the idea that success and achievement were the keys to happiness. For years, he dedicated himself fully to his career, putting in long hours at the office, attending meetings, and chasing promotions. He told himself that once he achieved enough, once he had accumulated enough wealth and recognition, he would have the time to enjoy life, to pursue his passions, to reconnect with family, and to nurture his relationships. "I'll do it later," he often reassured himself. "I'll take the time to travel, to read that book, or to visit friends and family once I've achieved all my goals." But as the years passed, Samuel's later never seemed to come. At first, Samuel felt confident that his strategy was sound. He would work tirelessly now, and eventually, the fruits of his labor would allow him to slow down and enjoy life. But as he neared his 75th birthday, Samuel began to realize that time had a way of slipping by unnoticed. The long hours at work, the endless meetings, and the pursuit of professional success had taken a toll. His health had started to decline, and the energy he once had for pursuing passions or building meaningful relationships had begun to fade. When he looked back on his life, he saw that so many opportunities had passed him by. His children had grown up, and now they were busy with their own families and careers. The friendships he had once cherished had faded, as he had been too focused on work to maintain them. He had always told himself there would be more time in the future, but that future never arrived. The dreams he had put on hold, traveling the world, writing a book, or simply spending quality time with the people he loved, remained unfulfilled. As Samuel's health declined, he found himself faced with the harsh reality that time, once lost, could never be regained. The years of later had built up, and now he was left with only regrets. He longed for the days when he could have spent more time with his children, more time with his spouse, and more time pursuing the hobbies he had always loved. He wished he had recognized sooner that time was not an infinite resource. He had believed that he could catch up on life once he had enough. But now he saw that the cost of his tunnel vision had been far too high. The relationships that had mattered most to him had faded, and he had no way of recapturing the moments he had allowed to slip through his fingers. The painful realization came late in life, but it was a crucial lesson for Samuel. He learned too late that time waits for no one, cannot be saved or stored for later. Once a day passes, it's gone, and with it, the opportunity to make memories, to change, to grow, and to connect with others. Samuel wished he had acted sooner, taking time to call an old friend, to spend a quiet afternoon with his children, or to pursue the passions that had always brought him joy. But he had spent too much time focusing on the someday and not enough on the now. Samuel's story is a cautionary tale for all of us. It serves as a reminder that time is finite and that we cannot afford to delay the things that matter most. If we constantly tell ourselves, "I'll do it later," we may find ourselves in a similar situation, filled with regrets and lost opportunities. We may realize too late that time is the one thing that cannot be replaced. The lesson Samuel learned is simple, yet profound. Time is irreplaceable. It is the most precious resource we have, and once it's gone, we cannot get it back. We must make the most of every moment, because the later we put off today may never come. Life is happening right now, and it is in the present moment that we can make the connections, pursue the passions, and create the memories that will last a lifetime. As we grow older, it becomes even more important to be mindful of how we spend our time. It's easy to fall into the trap of waiting for the perfect time or for the right circumstances to make changes. But the truth is, the perfect time may never come. The best time to act is always now. Whether it's calling an old friend, taking a walk in nature, or starting that project you've been dreaming about for years, don't wait for later. Time doesn't wait for us, and it's the choices we make today that will shape the life we live tomorrow. Samuel's regrets didn't have to define the rest of his life, though. It's never too late to take action. By embracing the present moment, we can still make a difference in our lives and the lives of others. Samuel realized, as he reflected on his life, that it was still possible to reconnect with family, rekindle old passions, and find joy in the things he had once neglected. But he also understood that he couldn't wait for later any longer. The time to live fully, to love deeply, and to pursue what truly mattered was now. In conclusion, Samuel's story teaches us that time is our most valuable resource. We cannot afford to wait for a perfect moment that may never come. The present is all we have, and it is in this moment that we can make the most meaningful choices. Don't let the years slip by, thinking there will always be more time. The time to act, to connect, and to pursue our dreams is now. Time is irreplaceable, and the best way to honor it is by living fully in the present moment. Health is true wealth. Peter had always been a hardworking man, dedicated to his career and the pursuit of financial success. Throughout his life, he believed that working long hours, making sacrifices, and focusing on his job were the keys to providing for his family and ensuring a comfortable future. For Peter, health was something he thought he could put off until later. There was always too much to do, too many deadlines to meet, and too many responsibilities to handle. He pushed through the stress, neglected his diet, and ignored the warning signs his body was sending him. Exercise, he reasoned, was a luxury he didn't have time for, and eating healthy was just another thing on the never-ending list of things to do. Peter's life was a whirlwind of work and ambition. He often found himself eating fast food on the go, skipping meals, and staying up late to finish tasks that could have waited. Over the years, he began to feel the toll that his lifestyle was taking on him, but he brushed it off. The stress, lack of sleep, and poor nutrition became a regular part of his routine. "I'll rest when I retire," he thought. "I'll focus on my health once I have the time." But time, as it turned out, was not something Peter could afford to waste. By the time Peter reached his 70s, his body had begun to show the consequences of decades of neglect. His energy had dwindled, and he found it harder and harder to keep up with his daily tasks. A series of health issues began to arise: heart problems, high blood pressure, and constant fatigue. His doctor told him that his condition was the result of years of poor lifestyle choices, and if he didn't make significant changes, his health would continue to decline. The advice came too late. Peter had spent so many years focusing on external achievements that he had ignored the internal, essential foundation of health. His body, once strong and resilient, was now betraying him. It was a sobering realization for Peter. He had dedicated his life to building a career, acquiring wealth, and providing for his family. But now, as he looked back, he saw that all of that meant little if he wasn't healthy enough to enjoy the fruits of his labor. He had invested so much time into building his professional success, but he had failed to invest in the one thing that truly mattered: his health. As he spent his days in and out of doctors' offices, Peter couldn't help but feel regret. He wished he had taken better care of his body when he was younger. He regretted not making time for exercise, not eating healthier, and not finding ways to manage the stress that had slowly eroded his well-being. Now, his health was something he couldn't take for granted, and he was forced to confront the reality that his body had paid the price for his neglect. Peter's story is a powerful reminder that health is the foundation of a meaningful life. Without good health, all the wealth, success, and accomplishments in the world lose their value. No amount of money or material possessions can replace the energy, vitality, and freedom that come with being in good health. And while it's never too late to start taking care of your body, the earlier you prioritize your health, the better your chances of living a long, fulfilling life. As Peter's health issues continued to worsen, he found himself reflecting on the choices he had made throughout his life. He wished he had found a balance between his career and his well-being. He regretted not taking the time to exercise, not prioritizing his diet, and not practicing stress management. These small decisions, he realized, would have made all the difference in his quality of life. In the end, Peter learned the hard way that health is the true wealth. It is the most precious asset we have, and without it, everything else pales in comparison. The money Peter had earned over the years could not buy him the vitality and strength that his body had once possessed. The success he had achieved in his career could not undo the damage done to his health. No amount of wealth could replace the energy he had lost or the joy of living without pain and limitation. The lesson Peter learned was simple yet profound. Health is the foundation upon which all other successes are built. Without it, nothing else matters. It is easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life, to chase after material wealth and professional accomplishments. But we must never forget that our health is the most important asset we have. If we neglect our bodies and our well-being, we risk losing everything that truly makes life worth living. Peter's story is a call to action for all of us to take better care of ourselves. It's a reminder that health is not something we can put off until tomorrow. It must be a priority today. The choices we make now in terms of diet, exercise, stress management, and self-care will determine our future health. By investing in our health today, we are securing the foundation for a better, more fulfilling tomorrow. Health is true wealth, and it's the only thing that can never be taken away from us once we have it. Relationships matter more than achievements. Daniel had always been driven by his career. From the moment he graduated from college, he threw himself into his work, believing that professional success was the key to a meaningful life. For years, he worked long hours, took on extra responsibilities, and sacrificed personal time in the pursuit of promotions, recognition, and financial stability. His work became his identity, and he was convinced that if he just kept pushing, kept striving, he would eventually find fulfillment. But along the way, something essential was lost. His connections with the people who mattered most. His family and friends were often the ones left waiting. Birthdays, anniversaries, and family gatherings became events he skipped or attended only briefly before rushing back to the office. He missed the small moments that made life rich, sharing a meal with loved ones, spending time with friends, or simply being present in the lives of those who cared about him. In his quest for success, Daniel failed to recognize that the people in his life were the true source of happiness, not the accolades or titles he was chasing. It wasn't until Daniel received the sudden news of a close friend's passing that the full weight of his choices hit him. His friend had died unexpectedly, leaving behind a legacy of kindness, warmth, and deep connections with others. The news left Daniel feeling hollow. As he mourned, he reflected on the time he had lost by prioritizing work over relationships. He thought about the missed conversations, the family events he had skipped, and the moments he had never shared with those closest to him. The realization was painful. All the career success in the world couldn't replace the love and connection he had neglected. That moment of loss was a turning point for Daniel. He understood that no amount of money or career achievements could ever fill the emotional void left by the absence of meaningful relationships. It wasn't the number of promotions or business deals that mattered most. It was the friendships, the family bonds, and the moments of genuine connection that gave life its true meaning. He realized that while he had been focused on building his career, he had let the most valuable parts of his life slip away. Determined to make a change, Daniel began to rebuild the relationships he had neglected over the years. He reached out to old friends, made more time for family, and prioritized spending quality moments with his loved ones. He stopped allowing work to consume every aspect of his life, choosing instead to focus on the people who had always been there for him. Slowly but surely, he found that reconnecting with his loved ones brought a sense of joy and fulfillment that his career had never provided. The moments spent with family became more important than the milestones he had once thought were the pinnacle of success. Daniel's story is a powerful reminder that relationships matter more than achievements. It's easy to get caught up in the pursuit of professional success, especially in a world that often equates career accomplishments with personal worth. But as Daniel learned, career success is fleeting. Titles and promotions are temporary, and the material rewards that come from a successful career can never replace the lasting joy of deep connections with others. In the end, it's not the number of deals closed or projects completed that define a life well lived. It's the love we give and receive, the friendships we nurture, and the family bonds we cherish. The lesson Daniel learned is one that many of us may need to hear. It's easy to get so focused on achieving that we lose sight of the people around us. We may think that success in our careers will bring us happiness, but true fulfillment comes from love and connection. As we navigate the busy demands of life, it's crucial to remember that relationships, whether with family, friends, or even colleagues, are the most important thing we have. They are the ones who support us through the ups and downs, who make life meaningful and rich. By prioritizing relationships over achievements, we create a life filled with love, joy, and support. We can find balance between our careers and our personal lives, ensuring that we don't miss out on the moments that truly matter. Just as Daniel found peace and fulfillment in reconnecting with those he loved, we, too, can build lives that are centered on love, connection, and shared experiences. In the end, the memories we make with others will always outshine the trophies and titles we collect along the way. True happiness comes from within. Sophie spent most of her life chasing after external sources of happiness. From a young age, she believed that wealth, recognition, and the accumulation of possessions would bring her the fulfillment she longed for. She worked tirelessly, often sacrificing personal time and relationships, convinced that success and material gains would lead to a lasting sense of joy. As she climbed the corporate ladder, purchased a large home, and filled her life with luxury, Sophie realized that despite all her achievements, she still felt a deep sense of emptiness. The more she acquired, the less she seemed to truly feel happy. Every new possession or milestone only brought temporary satisfaction, quickly fading as she moved on to the next goal. Sophie's sense of discontent grew over the years, and she began to wonder what she was missing. Why, after all her hard work and material success, did she still feel so unfulfilled? She tried to fill the void with more possessions, more recognition, and more distractions, but nothing seemed to last. In a moment of introspection, Sophie recognized that she had been looking for happiness in the wrong places. She had been seeking external validation through wealth, status, and material things, instead of seeking inner peace and contentment. It was during a trip to a Zen Buddhist temple that Sophie's perspective began to shift. The simplicity and tranquility of the temple stood in stark contrast to the busy, chaotic life she had built. As she sat in the peaceful surroundings, Sophie was encouraged to reflect and meditate, an experience that was unfamiliar yet profoundly moving. She learned that true happiness is not found in external achievements or possessions, but rather in the present moment. The monks at the temple taught her that contentment comes from within, through self-awareness, acceptance, and the ability to appreciate the small, everyday moments that life offers. The teachings at the temple had a deep impact on Sophie. She realized that for years, she had overlooked the joy in simple moments, the quiet time spent with loved ones, the beauty of nature, the peace of a quiet evening, and the sense of fulfillment that comes from being fully present. She had been so focused on what was missing or what she needed to acquire next that she failed to recognize the happiness that was always available to her in the present. Sophie's experience at the Zen Buddhist temple was a turning point. She began to let go of her attachment to external achievements and possessions, realizing that they were fleeting and unable to provide lasting happiness. She learned that true fulfillment comes from within and that she didn't need to look outside herself for approval or validation. Instead, she started focusing on cultivating inner peace and contentment, embracing the present moment with gratitude and mindfulness. Over time, Sophie began to see life through a new lens. She stopped rushing toward the next milestone and started enjoying the small, everyday moments. She found joy in spending time with her family and friends, appreciating the beauty of nature, and feeling at peace with herself. As she let go of her attachment to material wealth and external recognition, Sophie discovered a deep, lasting happiness that had always been there, waiting for her to find it. The lesson Sophie learned is one that many of us can relate to. In our fast-paced, achievement-driven society, it's easy to believe that happiness lies in what we acquire or in what others think of us. But true happiness is not found in external sources. It is cultivated within. It comes from being present, accepting ourselves as we are, and finding joy in the everyday moments that often go unnoticed. When we let go of the need for external validation and focus on nurturing our inner peace, we discover that happiness is not something we chase, but something we create from within. Living mindfully and embracing the present. The stories of William, Martin, Emily, Samuel, Peter, Daniel, and Sophie all converge on one powerful lesson: living fully in the present moment, letting go of regrets, and embracing imperfection. Each of these individuals spent a significant part of their lives chasing things that, in hindsight, did not bring them the fulfillment they sought. Whether it was William holding on to anger for decades, Martin accumulating wealth without finding happiness, Emily waiting for the perfect moment to pursue her passions, or Samuel delaying his relationships, all these experiences reflect a common theme: the futility of postponing true joy in life. Through their journeys, they came to understand something fundamental. The present moment is all we truly have. Time, once lost, cannot be reclaimed, and no material possession, achievement, or external validation can replace the joy that comes from simply being present. These stories serve as reminders that we often get caught up in striving for something bigger, better, or more perfect, believing that happiness is just around the corner. However, the real lesson lies in appreciating what we have right now, embracing the imperfections of life, and being mindful in our daily experiences. Mindfulness is not just a buzzword. It is a powerful practice that allows us to connect with the present and find peace within it. Whether it is savoring a quiet moment with a loved one, enjoying a cup of coffee, or simply breathing deeply, mindfulness helps us reconnect with the present and find joy in the simplicity of life. The individuals in these stories learned that true happiness does not lie in future accomplishments or external recognition, but in the quality of our moments and the relationships we build along the way. Furthermore, the importance of connection was central to their growth. Whether it was Daniel, who realized too late the value of nurturing his relationships, or Sophie, who learned that happiness is not found in external sources, both discovered that love and connection are what truly matter. These relationships, whether with family, friends, or even ourselves, provide the foundation for a meaningful and fulfilling life. By focusing on these connections and nurturing them, we find not only joy but also a sense of purpose. Ultimately, the message these stories convey is clear: living mindfully, embracing the present, and accepting life's imperfections is the key to true happiness. We do not need to wait for the perfect time, the perfect circumstances, or the perfect version of ourselves. Instead, we can start right now, appreciating what we have and embracing the beauty of the present moment. By letting go of regrets and focusing on what is within our control, we free ourselves from the burden of seeking perfection and open ourselves to a life of peace, fulfillment, and genuine joy. The present moment is all we truly have, and it is in this moment that we can find the life we have been searching for. Life may not always be perfect, but it is in its imperfections that we find the richness and depth that make it worth living. Let us cherish the present, embrace its fleeting nature, and live fully in the here and now. In doing so, we can cultivate a life of mindfulness, connection, and joy. In this video, we have explored several powerful life lessons, each one offering valuable insights for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life. We've learned that forgiveness can liberate us from the burden of anger, that true happiness lies within, not in material wealth, and that time is our most precious resource. We've seen the importance of embracing imperfection, prioritizing relationships over achievements, and living mindfully in the present moment. As we wrap up, I encourage you to take action on these lessons. Start by prioritizing the relationships that matter most to you and embrace the beauty of imperfection in your daily life. Let go of regrets, focus on the present, and remember that happiness comes from within. If you found these insights helpful, please consider subscribing for more life wisdom and sharing these lessons with your loved ones. Together, let's continue to learn, grow, and embrace the fullness of life. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to sharing more with you soon.